Well, Coach, Western Michigan coming off a thrilling overtime winner. You kind of touched on it at the end of the game there, but that Rebry line wasn't the one you originally sent out to start the third period, or the overtime period. So just kind of touch on that.
Well, there was a matchup scenario at the end of regulation going into overtime. We'd kind of dictated which line would play against which line, and Nebraska-Ohmaha sent out a line that we did not expect that they would start with, and that was the matchup for Michael Rebry's unit. So we were excited to get them out there, and we watched the final goal here today, and you talk about a textbook shift, and the voice of the Broncos, Robin Hook, just made a great call on it, and our seniors came through. It was a perfectly executed shift. We got the puck deep. Lawton Courtnall, a freshman, got it in, and Michael Rebry and Aaron Hadley were after it real hard, and we had Cam Lee and Scott Moldenhauer in the blue line, and Moldy made a great play keeping it in. Actually, Rebs had a turnaround scoring chance right before he actually did get the goal, and then we stayed on the puck again. We're persistent, and you've seen the clips of Bobby Orr scoring that Stanley Cup goal flying through the air. So Michael Rebry gave a great impersonation of Bobby Orr there. But just great for those two seniors to be out there, and a young player like Lawton, Cam Lee, and Moldy, one of our captains there. So huge goal for our program.
You touched on the play of the seniors, and Rebry was a guy, he had 2 goals coming into the weekend, and then scores 2, obviously one on Saturday to kind of put the game away, and then the big one on Sunday.
It's really interesting with Mike. He's such a quality guy, and for whatever reason, the best part of his season is always the end of the hockey year, and couldn't come at a better time for us right now with us going to the NCHC Frozen Four this weekend and that. But good to see that. He's got a lot of great speed. I thought his overall game this weekend was really good.
Coach, you guys are facing Minnesota Duluth here in the next round. You guys split this season series with them 2-2, I believe. You guys seem to know each other pretty well. What can you expect from them here in the next round?
Well, we have so much respect for every opponent. As we did with Nebraska-Ohmaha, it was kind of Dean Blaze as a friend, and it was difficult in the handshake there afterwards because I knew this weekend that one of us was going to come away disappointed. And it's a tremendous league. Every opponent is real tough. Minnesota Duluth, as you said, we've played them 4 times. It's sort of the rubber match. It's coming down to this Friday afternoon, and they're physical, they're fast. They're the most veteran team in our league, leading with a lot of top seniors and junior players, and they're well coached by Scott Sandlin and his staff, and not a lot of weaknesses. They've got a tremendous young goaltender as well. Both teams have young goalies. We're certainly a younger team, but it'll be a battle of puck possession. It'll be a battle of winning your one-on-ones and who can get the most traffic to the offensive net. Both teams play a rather direct style, and we'll see. It's going to be one of endurance and just staying on every puck.
You guys have gotten a little banged up recently. Can you talk a little bit about the status of Sheldon Grise and also Wade Allison, a scary moment for him the other day? What are their statuses?
Right now we don't have a full read on our injuries and so on. I mean, Sheldon's got a lower body injury, and with Wade Allison, he'll be checked out, and he's actually feeling pretty good today and so on. So we don't have a real read on our status, but if you don't have some bumps and bruises on your team right now at the end of the year, you probably haven't been playing hard enough, and I'm sure Duluth is feeling the same thing. They had a real tough series with Miami, and you go through our league, and every night it's a grind. So I don't think we have one player that doesn't have some sort of a bruise or a strain, and you just deal with it and you move on.
This is Western's second trip to the Frozen Faceoff. Can you kind of just touch on it for the fans, what it's like?
Well, it's our second trip in the 4 years that we've been in the NCHC. And first of all, the league does a great job of showcasing the talent that's seen on all these teams. It's a great venue. Obviously, the Target Center's done a great job of upgrading their facility. It's an NHL-style arena. I know they've changed all their dressing rooms and that to accommodate the tournament as well, too. So pretty exciting. There will be lots of green there this weekend with North Dakota being in the tournament, which I'm sure the NCHC was happy to see that they're in it. We hope to have a lot of Bronco colors there as well. It's a big event for our program and our fans and our team, and it's exciting. I mean, you play all year to try to have the opportunity to win your league title, and that's what we'll be doing this weekend.
Andy, the Broncos have had, I believe, the biggest turnaround of any team in Division I hockey this year, from 8 wins a year ago to 22 at this point of the season, and more out there for you to win. What's been the reason behind such a dramatic turnaround by your team?
Well, I think there's a combination when we look at the improvement from last year to this year. I mean, the first thing you would say is that we underachieved last year. We did not play the kind of hockey that we needed to play, and don't have to look any further than the guy that's in charge of the program to know that he had to do a better job. And I think it was a refocus and a recommitment by our players. It was a change in methodology. We changed some things, because when it's not working, if you're not prepared to change, you're prepared to fail again. And so we changed the way we trained in the summer. I give Tim Herman a great deal of credit. He established a new type of training process that really put an emphasis on speed and quickness. And then we applied that to our training camp. We did a real solid evaluation of our players through training camp, made it very competitive, and that comes to the fact that a number of players that we've had on our recruiting list for 3-4 years finally got here, which is the way that it works in college hockey. You're recruiting 3-4 years out, and all of these players were players that I was somewhat involved with in the recruiting process, and we like our chain of players right now. We like the guys we've got here, and we look at the players coming in, and they fit what we want in terms of being a top caliber team. We can play with a lot more speed, a lot more pace. We can still play the heavy game, but we're able to do things that maybe our teams in the past were not capable of doing. And that's certainly not downplaying any of our other teams, because we won a lot of games here. But last year was an off year for us. Coach wasn't good enough, and he was maybe a little bit better this year, and he had a lot of players and a staff that were a great deal better. So good things happen when you're not happy with things the way they were before, and you go after it, and that's what we did.
You also had a change on the coaching staff, and Todd Krieger comes in from Muskegon. What effects has he had on the team?
Yeah, Todd Krieger was a good addition to our staff. I do have to say that Ben Barr, when he was here, did a tremendous job, and obviously he's helped us land a lot of the talent that we have. And Dave Shayak does a tremendous job. Our Director of Player Development, David Killip, is solid. Tom Askey, our volunteer coach on the goaltending side. And I mentioned Tim Herman, our medical staff, our equipment staff. It's our support staff. Everybody involved in our program works extremely hard. So, a lot of different ingredients. Todd brought some things that I think certainly added to our team. But I think it's a total team effort here, the reason that things have gone in a more positive way than last year.
Coach, talk about the other teams in the Frozen Faceoff. You've got arguably the 4 best teams in the country playing in this tournament this weekend in the NCHC championship semifinals and finals.
Well, if we look at the teams in terms of seeding that we'll potentially see this weekend, I mean, coming into the tournament, the University of North Dakota is seeded number 4, and we'll play Denver the first night. And it's like anything. I mean, you're not drooling over the fact that you got to play North Dakota right now. They might be playing their best hockey of the year. They're healthy. They've got that winning tradition. And, I think whenever you look at championships, you always look at, you got to go through the defending champion first. And, they're big, they're physical, they're fast, they're young, they're talented, a lot of NHL draft picks. And, you go to the second seed, Duluth, who we will play in the first game. They've been 1 or 2 in the country the whole year. And that's difficult to do. And as I said, they're a more senior, junior-laden team than any of the other teams in the Final Four here. Denver's a younger team, North Dakota is, and we're probably the youngest team. But, Duluth has got all the ingredients there as well, and they're very strong up the middle. They got size up the middle, and they got some defensemen that can move the puck, and that goalie's pretty good too. And then you go to Denver, and there isn't a team that's on a hotter streak than Denver. I can't remember the last time they lost a hockey game. And they just continue to reload with talented players. They lost some guys early to the National Hockey League, and Coach Montgomery's done a great job there as well, too. They play with a lot of pace. And the most important thing is with the offense they have, they don't give up anything just because they have the puck all the time. So, I think you're correct in saying, Robin, that 4 of the best teams in college hockey are playing, and sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for. When we joined the NCHC, we knew it was going to be tough, and whether we thought it would be this tough or not, it's great for our fans. So it's a great challenge for our players every single night, and it's the best college hockey in the country, no question about it. And I don't think there's anybody that can disagree with that fact.
Shortly before the press conference, the NCHC released the start times with Western Michigan to be a 5:08 Eastern and 4:08 local time. What are your thoughts about playing the early game?
Yeah, well, we'll just go with the 4:08 time because that's what I've got on the sheet. We actually like it. If I was to have first choice, if I had the first seed, my opinion, I'd want to play at 4 o'clock because, you expect to win your 4 o'clock game and then play in the championship game the next night. And I like the idea of the 4 o'clock game. I like the idea that you've got time to watch the next 2 teams play after. You've also got more recovery time for your players. So if we were to have a choice, we would have picked the 4 o'clock time. I can understand Denver picking the 7:30 start because in that scenario, they're keeping the same rhythm they've had all year. They're used to playing at 7 and so on. The one thing you never know how long that first game is going to go, and it could be pushed back, and your recovery time can be decreased. But, Denver had their reason for doing it. I would think it would be to have the normal rhythm of the type of games we play. But I do like that time, and, I don't care if they told us we're playing at 2 in the morning. We're going to be there and play hard. They tell us when to show up and when you have to be there, and when they tell you when you need to be there, you just got to go there and play hard.
You guys are, a pretty young team, and these guys are playing in a pretty big game with the playoffs. Just what do you guys do for nerves for young guys?
What do we do for nerves because we've got such a young team? I'm one of the oldest coaches in college hockey, and I'll have lots of nerves going that day as well, as I do every single game. That's the one thing I dread when I do decide to get out of the game. A lot of people would say when you're in the NHL game, the thing you miss the most is the great pregame meal and the afternoon nap. And I won't be missing that. I'll be missing that feeling in your gut before the game that your job's on the line and that you got to perform tonight, and that you're representing a lot of people, and so you go after. I think our players will have a lot of nerves. I think they'll be excited. They'll be intense. I like that nervous feeling. I think it brings you to an edge where you're just ready to go and wired up. And obviously we do a lot of positive reinforcement with our guys, and we'll talk about how we win, the things that we need to do to be successful against Duluth. And we're going to have to force them into mistakes. They're such a quality team that unless you do that, they just don't make any mistakes. Great question.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks.